I am 102 years old. I flew 47 missions over Germany. I came back from every single one. The 48th mission almost killed me, not because of enemy fire, not because of flak, not because of German fighters, because of something nobody warned me about, something I never saw coming. My name is Roy Caldwell. I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma on April 9th, 1924. My father owned a small hardware store. My mother taught Sunday school at the First Methodist Church for 22 years. I grew up in a quiet house, orderly, predictable. My father believed in doing things right the first time and not complaining about it. That suited me fine. I was not a dramatic person. I did not get rattled easily. That quality, as it turned out, made me a very good pilot. I was 17 years old when Pearl Harbor was attacked. I remember my father listening to the radio and then turning it off and sitting in silence. After a long moment, he looked at me. "Roy," he said, "this is going to ask something of you." He was right. I enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces in April 1942. I was 18 years old. From the beginning, it was clear that flying came naturally to me. My instructors said I had exceptional situational awareness and the steadiest hands they had seen. I completed advanced pilot training on the B-17 Flying Fortress in the spring of 1943. By the fall of 1943, I was in England with the 8th Air Force 306 Bombardment Group based at Thurley. I flew my first combat mission in October 1943. I was 19 years old. In 1943 and 1944, the strategic bombing campaign over Germany was one of the most dangerous assignments in the entire war. The average B-17 crew had a 1 in 4 chance of completing a full tour of 25 missions: flak, fighter attacks, mechanical failures, weather. There were 100 ways a mission could end badly and only one way it could end well. My crew and I somehow kept finding that one way. I don't say that to sound impressive. I say it because by the time I reached my 40th mission, I had watched so many other crews not find it. Friends, men I had eaten breakfast with, men whose names I knew, gone. My co-pilot was Lieutenant David Park from Seattle, 22 years old, methodical, careful, exactly the kind of co-pilot you wanted beside you. My navigator was Lieutenant Sam Torres from Albuquerque. My bombardier, Sergeant Pete Flynn from Boston, could put a bomb through a window at altitude. Together we flew mission after mission and came back. By the spring of 1944, the tour had been extended to 35 missions, then to 50. The Army needed experienced crews. We kept flying. I want to tell you something that nobody talked about during the war. Something that wasn't in any manual or any briefing. What 47 missions does to a man's mind. It doesn't happen all at once. It creeps. You don't notice it because you're too busy surviving to take stock of what surviving is costing you. After 10 missions, you stop being surprised by flak. After 20, you stop thinking much about the men who don't come back. Not because you don't care, because you can't afford to care and still function. After 30 missions, you start going somewhere else in your mind during the worst moments. Some part of you detaches, watches from a distance. It feels like calm. It feels like control. It isn't calm. It isn't control. It is your mind doing the only thing it can think of to keep you functioning. I didn't know any of this on the morning of my 48th mission. I thought I was fine. I had always been fine. I was Roy Caldwell from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I did not get rattled. I was wrong. March 18, 1944. Mission briefing at 4:30. Target, ball bearing factory, outside Berlin. One of the most heavily defended targets in Germany. Massive flak concentrations. Fighter opposition expected throughout the route. I sat in that briefing room and felt nothing. No fear, no anxiety, no heightened alertness. Nothing. I noted that absence but didn't examine it. I assumed it was confidence. We took off at 7:15. Formation assembly over East Anglia. Climbed to altitude, crossed the Dutch coast at 10 o'clock. Entered German airspace heading east toward Berlin. The flak started at 10:45. Heavy and accurate the way it always was over the German heartland. I flew through it the way I always flew through it. Steady hands, controlled breathing, eyes on the instruments and the formation. At 11:20, the German fighters appeared. FW-190s coming in from the north. Our escort, a group of P-51s, engaged them, and that is when it happened. Not dramatically, not with any warning. I looked out at the sky filled with aircraft and fire and smoke, and I simply stopped. I don't know how long it lasted. Park told me later it was perhaps 45 seconds. To me, it felt like nothing, like a gap, like a film with a section cut out of it. One moment I was flying the aircraft. The next moment I was aware that Park was at the controls and looking at me with an expression I had never seen on his face before. Roy. His voice was very quiet over the intercom. "I've got it. You okay?" I looked at my hands. They were in my lap. I had no memory of removing them from the controls. "I've got it," Park said again. I understood what he was telling me. He had taken over. He was flying the aircraft, and he was giving me time to come back without making it an emergency. I sat there for what felt like a very long time. Then I put my hands back on the controls. "I've got it," I said. Park looked at me for a moment, then he moved his hands back to his own side. We flew the rest of the mission. We hit the target. We came home. Nobody said anything about those 45 seconds. Park came to find me that evening. He sat down across from me and didn't say anything for a moment. Then he said, "You want to talk about it?" "No," I said. He nodded. "Okay," he said. "I need to ask you one thing. Are you fit to fly?" I thought about that honestly. "I don't know," I said. That was the most frightening thing I had ever said out loud. In 47 missions over Germany, through flak and fighters and near misses and the deaths of more men than I could count, I had never once not known. Park looked at me steadily. "Then we go talk to the flight surgeon," he said. "Tonight." I started to say no. Park put his hand on my arm. "Roy, you have a crew of 9 men depending on you. If you're not right, they need to know, and so do you." He was correct. I knew he was correct. We went to the flight surgeon that night. The flight surgeon's name was Captain Leonard Harris. He was a quiet man from Virginia who had seen a great deal in 2 years of combat medicine. He asked me questions for over an hour. Not about the 48th mission specifically, about all of them, about sleep, about appetite, about what I thought about when I wasn't flying, about what I felt during missions now compared to the beginning. When he finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Caldwell, he said, what happened to you today has a name. We don't use it much because it frightens people and it sounds like weakness. But it isn't weakness. It's what happens when a human nervous system has absorbed more than it was designed to absorb without rest. He grounded me for 3 weeks. I was furious. I felt fine. I felt perfectly capable of flying. Harris looked at me calmly. That feeling of being fine, he said, is part of the problem, not the solution. He was right. 3 weeks later, when I returned to the cockpit from my first training flight, I realized how not fine I had actually been. The difference was like the difference between a man who has been awake for 3 days and a man who has finally slept. I hadn't known I was exhausted because I had forgotten what not exhausted felt like. I flew 7 more missions after my return. Completed my tour in the summer of 1944. I came home to Tulsa in September 1944. I was 20 years old. My father met me at the door. He looked at my face carefully. "You all right?" he said. "Getting there," I said. He nodded. That was enough for him. I married a woman named Patricia in 1947. We had 53 years together before she passed. 2 daughters, 6 grandchildren, 10 great-grandchildren. I never flew commercially after the war. I had no desire to be in an aircraft again. That surprised people who knew my record. It didn't surprise me. I had asked enough of the sky. The sky had asked enough of me. I am 102 years old. I have thought a great deal about those 45 seconds over Germany, not with shame, not with regret, with something closer to gratitude. Gratitude for Park, who saw what was happening and handled it exactly right. Gratitude for Harris, who told me the truth when I needed to hear it. Gratitude for the 3 weeks on the ground that I didn't think I needed and that probably saved my life. There is a kind of strength that looks like endurance but is actually just depletion. I had that kind of strength for 47 missions. I mistook it for toughness, for character. It wasn't those things. It was a man running on empty, telling himself the gauge was broken. Know the difference between genuine strength and the performance of strength. The people around you can sometimes see that difference before you can. Let them tell you. Here is what I want to leave you with. There is no weakness in reaching the limit. Every man has one. The limit is not the measure of you. What you do when you reach it is, I reached mine at 25,000 feet over Germany on March 18th, 1944. I sat in that cockpit with my hands in my lap for 45 seconds while David Park flew the aircraft and gave me time to come back. And I came back. I came back because someone was there who knew what to do, someone who cared enough to handle it quietly and correctly. If you are running on empty right now, if you have been performing strength for so long that you've forgotten what actual strength feels like, let someone in, not because you are weak, because David Park was right. 9 people were counting on me to know when I needed help. Someone is counting on you too. If this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and take care of your people before the 48th mission finds them.